We're here in the Sydney office. How you liking Sydney, bro?
Sydney's where it's at, to say the least.
Yeah.
Love Sydney.
Wanted to have a chat about, I guess, your experience with Only Earned. You're probably, I'd say you've been here from the start. You've seen it from when we ran our first mastermind in Bali to where it is now, and to also being behind the scenes and being in person a lot and seeing what we're going to be building this year. So I wanted to kind of go through your story, what you're doing now, how everything's kind of changed for you over the last, say, 6 months since being a part of Only Earned, but then also what you kind of plan to do, over this year. So let's just start with a bit of a backstory and how you kind of came across what I was doing and me, and then getting to where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Very similar story to a lot of the boys. I feel like, a couple years ago, started in school. I guess we weren't really the type to go the 9 to 5 route.
Yeah.
Started with Iman and all those type of guys, and slowly got more niche over time. I found Finn's content early last year, 2025.
Yeah.
And just bought into the mission.
Yeah.
I saw what you were doing, saw the content that you were putting out, the guys that you were traveling with, the lifestyle you were living, and consumed a lot of that content when I was still at my previous barber role.
Yeah.
So I was barbering for about 5 years, and got an opportunity to go into sales pretty quickly, and grabbed it with both hands, and
So you're in high ticket closing.
Yep.
How long have you been closing for, and how much cash have you collected? Because I know you're a fucking weapon when it comes to jumping on calls, bro. So tell the boys a bit more about your kind of experience and how it's been so far.
For sure. So very, very funny story. I was cutting hair. I had a client who previously did high ticket sales, and he offered me a job just out of the blue one day when he was building out his offer. At first, obviously, said no, and was having a really, really bad day in the shop. And I was like, who can I call? Who can I, where can I go next? And what's going to be the next opportunity?
Yeah.
And decided to give him a call. So jumped on, started as a setter, worked my way up through closing. And over the past 8 months, I've collected over $1 million USD. And it's been a pretty crazy journey so far. So that again.
So you were grinding, locked in the bedroom, as we fucking all do. But I guess, what were you doing much? Were you traveling? Did you know many other entrepreneurs? Obviously the guys that were on the offer, but where was your kind of community and network at the point where you were starting to make good money, you're starting to get into the world of online business? Where was everything at in terms of not just the money side, but maybe the personal brand side and the community side, and just the overall enjoyment in life?
Yeah, for sure. Personal brand was an absolute zero. I had no personal brand. I think I had a couple hundred followers on Instagram, just using it for the usual stuff that we all do. Zero community. I feel like all my friends, I had 1 or 2 friends that were really doing big things outside of the classic 9 to 5 space, but in terms of online network, really had nothing at all. Yeah. First 4 months was literally locked in the bedroom, learning the skill of sales, learning the skill of cold calling. Yeah. And then about 4 to 5 months in it really started to take off, got into closing and started doing a little bit of travel. I went to Vietnam in amongst it all, which really put it into perspective that holy shit, if I'm going to be a barber, I can't travel. I can't do the things that I want to do. Yeah, well. Obviously with sales, you have a little bit more freedom and flexibility. So when I got back from that Vietnam trip, I was like, it's time to go all in. And left barbering behind me, really started to kind of put the plans in place of, or design my own lifestyle, as you would say. So.
And that's, I guess, where you kind of came into to meeting us in Bali, which was kind of a strange time, because obviously I had the community beforehand and I had met a bunch of people and done the experience, but this was the first time kind of creating, I guess, my own community. So it was that Bali mastermind, I think, was super special because it's almost like a first time for everyone. Mm-hmm. We're just joining into a new community and you're a new member. It's the first time for literally everyone. Yeah. And I mean, I can't really speak for you, but I guess now, since meeting everyone and we've become this family, we're all going to travel this year. Plans have definitely changed. We got Japan coming up. But also it's when you went to that mastermind, were you thinking, oh man, maybe this is one event and then we'll see what happens next year? Or were you thinking this is a long-term thing?
I feel like that weekend specifically was pretty weird for all of us.
Yeah.
That was my first trip other than Vietnam. So like first time going to Bali, I actually went with one of the friends that I spoke about earlier that was doing some pretty big stuff in the entrepreneur space. And
Cool.
I went there with the goal of meeting one person, just one, no big groups or anything like that. And then spending the 5 days that we had there locked in. And I remember day one, went out, saw what Bali was all about, fell in love instantly, of course. And then day two was where you posted the Only Earned mastermind. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, this is a good opportunity. We'll kind of see where this lands. And found myself at the mastermind literally the next day.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny
Which I think is crazy, because it started as you just obviously seeing my content, reaching out, and then we're all of a sudden thrown into this like weird situation where we're all in a house together, we all have crazy shared interests, but people underestimate what happens when you actually put yourself in a community with guys that are all doing the same stuff. It's like you become friends like this.
Yeah.
Like it's super easy to connect with guys that are doing the same stuff, which also just makes it more motivating, more enjoyable. But then you've also got that other aspect of like, well, these guys are a specialist in their field in something. So if I have a problem, it's not back in the day when I'm like, how do I solve this? YouTube, info, like trying to solve it myself. I just ask my friends. Yeah. Which I find is super cool, you know, and I do that to this day. I ask so many guys in the community for help because I know the value of the community and I know how much it helps. Which kind of leads me on to my next question, which is like, how have you kind of found value in the community? Because a lot of people, they'll see the community and they'll see the travel and be like, oh, it's just a cool thing to do. You know, traveling's cool, but I don't really need a community right now. Like I'm kind of locked in on my own thing. What would you say to someone that's kind of thinking that way and being like, they don't need a community and they're at the point where maybe they're at 10K a month, 20K a month, 30K a month. They're feeling a bit stuck, but like they also don't have a community at the same time. So like, I guess my question is, what would you say to someone that probably doesn't see the value in a community and isn't, you know, aware of how much it can help them?
There's multiple powers in a community. Like I feel like at first glance, again, some of the other communities out there, they're really for fun, they're for travel, they're for, you know, getting with a group of like-minded individuals and then just essentially being degens on these trips.
Yeah.
The thing that really sets Only Earned apart is, yes, look, we have our fun, we go on the trips, but the value that is shared and the relationships that are built on the trips is that you can't put a price tag on it. Yeah. You know, as Finn said, like that first trip, we all bonded like crazy and you just can't get that anywhere else. You're not going to find that on Discord servers, on Instagram or stuff like that. The one place that you are going to find it is in community. Second to that is the masterminds and events. We just had one in Sydney. I've been to a lot of masterminds. I've been to a lot of events. I've invested a pretty substantial amount of money in personal development. But the rooms that you get access to with other people that are, you know, light years ahead of you is completely unmatched. You know, it's not something that you can, again, put a price tag on it. It's crazy.
Ah, that's sick. That's sick. And what would you say has kind of been your, over the last 6 months, kind of went from you looking into Only Earned, coming to the Bali mastermind, to now us all being boys, living together, traveling together, planning out a whole entire year of like, these are the businesses we're all going to be scaling, and then this is how we're going to travel a lot to make content together and also continue building a community. What would you say over the last 6 months has kind of been your biggest takeaway? You know, what would you say you valued most from Only Earned? You know, obviously the content's starting to go from that Dubai trip, and you've done a lot of cool shit, made a lot of new friends, as I have as well. So yeah, what would you say is kind of like the biggest takeaway over these last 6 months as being a part of Only Earned and being there right from the start and watching as we kind of build this thing?
The biggest takeaway is the camaraderie and having other people that are doing the exact same thing as you. There's this big stigma on entrepreneurship that it has to be lonely, and you know you're going to go and walk this dark path yourself. Which, yes, there is a period of time that you have to, but I feel like getting into a community like this, it erases one of the most difficult things of entrepreneurship, and it's not having anyone in your corner or having anyone to turn to in tough times. So
and how does that, I guess, translate into scaling the business? Because at the end of the day, community is good and it's a nice thing to have and it helps, you know, with your overall enjoyment in life. But I think one thing that a lot of people overlook, especially if they're not in a community already themselves or have people around them, is like, how does a community actually make you more money, actually grow the personal brand, and actually like allow you to essentially get into rooms, know people, do things that money can't even buy. You know, it's not about how much you know, not about what you know, it's about who you actually know.
For sure. Yeah, I think currently I obviously don't have my own offer or anything like that, but for example, if I wanted to start an offer tomorrow, I could have a guy on content, I could have an entire sales team built out, a guy on ads, you know, where we all have and share different complementary skills that not only we can learn off of each other, but we can also team up together to make a lot of money in doing so. And again, that's something that community is really big on.
Yeah, I think the way I look at community is that everyone is a specialist in their own field. And so, you know, a lot of people will look to get a mentor, which 100% I recommend.
Yeah.
You know, get a mentor, get that one-on-one person that it's in your corner that's a specific specialist in growing an agency, content, whatever it is, right? But then that's just one part of this moving machine that I guess we call entrepreneurship. And there's so many other parts to it. One obviously being the personal brand as well. How do people know who you are? How do you get people to hear about what you're doing, what you're building, and how does that actually help? But then I think the third thing is community. It's like actually having those people around you that have built businesses, have solved the problems that you're struggling with, so that you don't have to sit there and figure it out on your own. Like, you can just shortcut years of trial and error that one of the boys in the community, I can guarantee you, have already made, because we have some crazy people in there, you know, guys doing 900K per month. And so it's like, if you could just ask that person, it'd be a lot easier. And you also don't have to pay them for a whole entire mentorship as well. Exactly. And so I look at a community as like having 25 entrepreneurs that are all your mates, you all get to travel with, and it turns entrepreneurship from like this solo thing into like a team sport. And it's like, you're now all putting in work, you're now all putting in effort, you're now all putting in resources so that you can grow as a team, which then allows you to get exponential returns, right? Because you're all putting so much effort in compared to you just thugging it out by yourself, having you just pretty much you and maybe a couple team members trying to build this business. And then obviously just like the opportunities aspect is like, if I needed an editor, if I needed a filmmaker, if I had a really good product or I had a really good offer and there was the perfect client, it's like using that community to get there. Because it's not just the 24 people inside, all 24, 25, and we're growing, doubling every month, but every single person inside has their own network. You know, for example, Noel, he knows people over in Miami, US, Europe, wherever it is. And so it's like, if you ask Noel something, maybe he personally doesn't know, but I guarantee you he knows someone that knows. And so it's like, you're now creating this like cobweb of just so many people from all around the globe, and you become, you know, this part of like a massive opportunity entrepreneurship network that just allows for you to scale and solve any problem. Any problems that you have, which for me was like the first 2 years, I didn't understand that. I spent 2 years just grinding alone, like trying to figure it out. I was like, fuck, I'm fucking working like 10-hour days, 12-hour days, 14-hour days, trying to build this agency. I'm hitting like 20K a month, 25K a month. I've been going at this for 2 years. Like, why is nothing changing? It wasn't until I was like traveling with Alfie, traveling with other people that were all doing the same thing, was then I realized, oh, it's actually who I'm doing it with. It wasn't how much work I'm putting in, it was who I'm doing it with, which create leverage. And as we all know, leverage is the key to business. How can you create the most leverage inside? So, epic, bro. I guess, what are you most excited for with Only Earned coming forward?
I think for me at this current point is definitely the trips. Is definitely more masterminds. Is definitely, you know, getting to meet more people. Definitely expanding the network and growing with the boys, creating everlasting memories, and having a lot of fun doing it.
That's it, bro. Keep scaling the brand. What would you say to someone that is an entrepreneur, they're building a business, they don't have a community around them just yet, but they also don't even know if they should have one? Like, do they actually need one? Like, what would you say to someone that, I guess, is just kind of unaware of the fact of how a community can help them and what a community actually does? Like, what would you say to that person right now if you were to give them a piece of advice? having been in a community, having invested in mentors, have gotten to where you are today?
Yeah, I feel like, you can be the best boxer, but unless you have people in your team that are actually, sitting on the sidelines, you're not going to get very far. So you got to have a team, you got to have people backing you up, and you obviously got to have a strong network in doing so. And the longer that you put it off, and the longer that you think that you are the man that can do it all alone, you're only delaying your own success. You are quite literally only delaying your own success. So.
And why would you say to someone now is more important than, 2 months, 3 months? Because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, I talk to a lot of guys that are interested in community, but they're like, man, I'm just working on the business right now, bro. I can't travel, I'm just working on the business. I don't really need a community right now. I'll just chuck it down the line, maybe 3 months, 4 months. I don't really need it. But they're also not necessarily happy with where they are in business, and they're kind of stuck.
Yeah. There's a good quote out there, and it goes something along the lines of, the more you think you don't need the theory work, the more you need the theory work. And the same goes for business, same goes for community. The more you think you don't need the community, the more you probably need the community.
Makes sense. Let's go. Sam Gilette. Fucking go.